midnight haze, chasing shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall, mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines, aliens sending secret signs. EVPs in the dead of night, ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal for what we bring it to you. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue you.
Well, hello. What's
How
up?
you doing?
Doing good.
Not bad. Like
Not
you, I had
bad.
a day, you know, I had to mow the yard and take out the trash.
Yeah, and tomorrow's Father's Day, and got to do all this work. I got to work on Father's Day.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm going. They are taking me, Tori, and everybody's taking me to Cracker Barrel in the morning for breakfast. For Father's Day.
Man, I love Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
You seen those new campfire meals I got?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, they look good.
I haven't been there in a while.
So we got a good show tonight.
Yes. I'll tell you, this is our second time we've had him on, and it's always fun.
Yes.
He has a lot of things that happens in his research area, a lot. And so hopefully we can talk some about the research area and some of the stuff that goes on there. But, you know, do you remember last time he was on, did we ask him what started him down this road?
I don't know if we did or not.
I think we just started talking.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we need to start. What do you think?
Yeah. So tonight we're joined by Jerry Millwood, member of North Carolina Investigates and host of Rebels Dark Tales. Jerry is a passionate researcher of Appalachian folklore, haunted history, cryptids, paranormal phenomena. And through his investigations and storytelling, he helps preserve the legends and mysteries that have echoed through the mountains for generations. So we're going to bring Mr. Jerry on.
There he is.
Hey, fellas. Good to be with y'all tonight.
We're glad you're here.
Apologize now. For some reason, this thing's been acting crazy for the last couple weeks, hasn't it, Jason?
Yeah.
So if it kicks me off, then I'll be back.
Well, if it's got a motherboard or an engine, you're going to have trouble with it.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of the problems started when I turned my computer into a server.
No.
To start doing a lot of the stuff that we've got going on the website now. And so I think I'm going to have to actually go ahead and get a server for all that stuff and migrate everything over to it, so it'll leave the computer alone, and maybe I'll get my computer back. So Jerry, I don't know if we asked you last time, but what got you into, you know, all this paranormal stuff with the Bigfoot and with everything else?
As a child of the 70s, and you know where I'm about to go with this.
Yes.
My granddad took me to see Legend of Boggy Creek, and I was fascinated just like every other kid in the country. And along the way, you know, I bought a book when I was 10 from the Scholastic Book Fair at my elementary school. But as time went on, you know, it was more like me being interested in a comic book character and I also liked scary movies, and I only read horror comics. But along the way, I was a believer even way back then. I thought, as big as this world is, I believe in Bigfoots. And then when we moved into the South Mountains area, I began to notice things, and we're surrounded by deep wilderness, and South Mountains themselves 100,000 acres, and then all the wilderness on the periphery of it. I started going in the woods a lot because I was in heaven. I started finding these tree breaks that I had not seen in other places. I had never even heard of a tree break, but I thought it was odd to be finding, good sized trees just broke over at about eye level or a little higher. And we were hearing some things, especially at night, that I didn't know what they were. And I had camped and hiked and everything else in Western North Carolina my whole life, and I know my wildlife. So it was, I was intrigued a little bit. I even sent an email to Lyle Burn, and not thinking he'd answer me, and he did. And he said, yeah, your tree breaks mean that y'all have Bigfoot there. We continued to hear things, but it wasn't until we saw one that the bug bit me in August of 2017. My wife was with me, and we turned onto the road, dead end road, and there was a cornfield, and standing right there in plain sight, it was completely out of the corn, standing a few feet from the road, was this massive creature, 7.5 foot tall. But I wasn't impressed by the height as much as I was just the width of this thing. Gosh, the shoulders and the thighs. So that night I was bitten by the bug. My wife, maybe some, but not like I was. And I kept it really private. And, those in my inner circle, I had talked to about it, and I was reaching out to some of the older people in my community, some of the old timers, because there's your best source of information, because you want to know the history. And I was working for a lady part-time because I had retired from the state. She ran a little store here in Kaiser, and we don't have a town hall, nothing. We don't even stoplight, but Fox Nation called her and said, we want to come do a documentary on Nobby, which is what we call our Sasquatches here. And they said, can we use your store as a headquarters? And she said, yes. And they said, do you know anybody that might let us interview him? And she said, let me talk to the guy that works for me. He's kind of private about it. But so I called the guy, and I said I would do it under the requirement that they silhouette me and disguise my voice. And they came, and it was a really big deal in Kaiser. It was like we were having a festival or something. But anyway, 6 months later, it came out. They had indeed silhouetted me, but they did not disguise my voice. So it only took a few people seeing it, and everybody knew that it was that preacher guy that works at the store was on the Bigfoot documentary. And that started that's what got me into interviewing witnesses, because people started showing up to tell me their stories.
Wow.
I had no choice. I was in the public eye.
So that night that you saw him, did you continue to drive, or did he just jump back in the in the corn there and just boogie on? With
the thing with my wife, she felt the same as I. We were shocked. We were in kind of shock. We were stunned, and I went past it just a little bit, and I stopped. I said, I'm going to back up and put the headlights on the field. And it just casually, she was watching it, turned around, went to the corn, and you could see it. You could see it above the corn. And it wasn't in a hurry. It wasn't, it didn't bolt. It didn't leave corn stalks bent over and mashed. So it walked carefully through and just walked out of sight. And that was at 9:30 at night. But we didn't get a lot of, as far as facial detail, but there's no mistaken identities possible with this incident because we were so close.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I certainly never thought I would ever be a witness to anything like that.
Yeah. I've never seen one, but, David has, but I've heard the stories, and a lot of the times most of the stories, they don't get excited when they see you. They just casually walk away.
Mhm.
Kind of crazy.
The visual encounters that I've had, they were all casual.
That's interesting, though. It's like they're just like, you know, just go about my business, and so what?
Maybe it's because they know what they could just rip your head off or something. Just leave that little PA alone. I'm going down through here.
It could probably breed intent too. I would think, maybe.
What do you think about that, Jerry? About them psychically connecting to people?
I don't discount that anymore. I don't, because there has been a few incidents where every night when I go to check on my animals in my pasture, you descend down a hill, and if I've got somebody missing, I've got to account for them. There's been times that I've had to go to the bottom of the hill at night by myself, where for that particular night, I just felt fear. And then lo and behold, I would have an encounter sometime. I saw red eyes one time looking at me from the woods. And I had already felt fear. I had one whistle at me. I didn't see anything, but it whistled at me from the darkness of the woods on the other side of the fence. And then I've been yelled at down there a couple of times. And each of these times that I had some kind of interaction, I felt fear ahead of time, and I didn't have a reason to. So there's maybe the psychic abilities. And, some say, well, it could have been infrasound, and yet could have been, but I think they have a way of projecting that onto you, softening up target. If you've got a target or something that you want out of the area, you're going to try to soften them up first. And if I could do infrasound, or if I could do psychic ability, there'd be a lot of people in trouble.
Right.
Be like,
get out of here. That's it. Have you ever had anything go missing on the farm that you never could find?
Yes, we've had a lot of things messed with, but there's one item that we've yet to find, and that was a pitchfork out of the barn. It completely disappeared, and I've not seen it. I even went to the woods below the pasture there, where there's an old graveyard in those woods, but those are thick woods, and I looked around, I didn't see it. Normally they'll carry things out of the barn, take them downhill, maybe put them in a tree. They put some of our lawn chairs in a tree one night out here in the backyard. They get into the feed barrels that has locking lids on. But it's mainly just seems to be mischievous stuff. But the only one item has ever gone completely missing, and that was my pitchfork.
That's weird.
They needed it.
Maybe
the day that I found out it was missing, I needed it real bad. And I was like, honey, have you seen the pitchfork? It's sitting in their barn. I said, no, it's not.
Have they ever got any livestock or anything like that? Have you ever had any of that missing?
No. We've had, we have the big mountain cats, the panthers. One panther came through one year, and over a series of 4 or 5 nights, really got a bunch of our chickens and ducks. Now, there's been other reports in the whole South Mountains area over the years, many reports where pigs and goats are taken or simply killed and left. Maybe like pigs that are taken out of the pigsty and then killed and just left laying in the woods. And also a lot of dogs are killed as well.
So they're not eating them; it's just killing them.
Now, I think the ones that go miss that you don't find their bodies, I think maybe they're eating those. I definitely don't think they're eating the dogs that they're killing.
The dogs are just a nuisance.
There is definitely a pre-existing adversarial relationship between the creatures and dogs.
I could see it.
Yeah, we've had a story told to us from Stephen from Arcane Discoveries about a dog, and it was pretty wild. So he was hunting, and all the dogs came back, but this one, and they had the tracking collar on it. So they tracked it to this spot in the mountain in the woods there, and it was under some trees or some brush, some leaves, and something had covered it up. And it was dead, but how it died was something had just smashed its head, like they clapped its head like that. That is wild. I just felt like
my neighbors had a red bone hound, and he stayed here a lot more than he did at home. Everybody in the neighborhood loved this dog, and one day he wound up in my barn. I heard him whimpering, and that dog had been slammed against a tree. You could see the bark stuck in his rump, and the hide was just completely abraded off and bark stuck in it. And he had, in my estimation, it looked like something had taken giant hands and grabbed him by maybe the shoulders so much that the fingernails punctured. They were too far apart to be a cat, and slammed the dog against the tree. Now, how he got away, I don't know, but he limped from wherever we was at into the barn, and I thought he was going to make it to the next day, but he died that night from internal injuries. And then just not far from me at all, a man had about a 80-pound dog who went missing, and they found him alive in the creek, but his back had been broken. God. And the vet said there's no external trauma. So it would have had to been like something picked him up and just snapped him like a twig. Or
wow.
That's interesting, especially.
So these things do not like dogs, is what it sounds like to me.
No, but there's always the exception to the rule. And we had a dog that went missing. Nancy didn't realize that the little fella got out of the house, and he went missing for 19 days. It was an elderly blind Yorkshire Terrier. He was blind and had no teeth. And he was found 19 days later by my neighbor on the creek bank on a sandbar, perfectly fine. He had actually gained a little bit of weight. He come and got me, and I drove the truck down to the big creek and went down the bank like I was 20 years old again. I was so happy, and I picked that dog up, guys, and it stunk so bad. Not dirty dogs stank.
Yeah. So you think that Bigfoot had him and was just loving on him for days?
I think they took care of him.
Yeah.
They had pity because he didn't pose any sort of a threat.
Right.
No teeth, blind, and I have no other alternative explanations on how that dog survived, because everything in the woods would have wanted to eat him.
Yeah.
The possums, the raccoons, skunks, bobcats, everything.
Something protected it, because it would have got eaten if something hadn't have been protecting it.
Yeah.
He had to have protection, and he had to have food.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if it named him George.
I don't know, but the weird follow-up to that is when I decided to start my show. That was the very first episode I did on Rebels Dark Tales. So I went down there to the creek. I drove my truck down there and took Scoot with me, and I got on a sandbar in the middle of the creek and set my tripod up. And Scoot was watching upstream intently, or listening rather, and he kept turning his head, turning his ears, and I heard a whoop whoop up the creek, and that little dog started barking and walking that way. So that's just kind of another piece of evidence to that puzzle. I don't have any other proof other than the dog stunk. He should have died from starvation, or he should have been killed by a predator. And then he reacted in that manner that day that he heard the whoop.
That's pretty interesting right there, and amazing too.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome if you ask me.
He came back and lived another 3 years and died of old age. Peacefully.
Well, I mean, and he made a friend along the way.
Yeah, he probably made more than one.
And they loved him and petted him and named him George. Remember that Bugs Bunny episode?
Yes, I love it.
Oh man, grabbed him.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
You know, so have you ever gone anywhere else and had anything happen besides just around your area where you do most of your investigations?
Yeah, I go to a lot of different places in the South Mountains area, and I've got one in particular right now, a really active investigation spot about 15 minutes from me. And of course, we also go further into Western North Carolina, Northwest Georgia, Eastern Tennessee. Went to the LBL back in November.
How was that?
It was great.
So when you went in November, was it like, were they hunting then? Did you go in the backwoods, like camping?
We camped with the whole crew. There was Relic Films was there, and Seekers and NCI, and we camped at Colson Holler.
Okay.
I don't remember if hunting was still going on or not.
Yeah,
But
we're planning on
place
going.
is-
We
it's
plan on
special.
going this fall.
It is special. And there's a palpable feeling that first night when the sun went down. The feeling was incredible.
I know there just seems to be something about that place, about the LBL, that I don't know if it just draws these things to them, or is it because it's just such a big place and there's hardly anybody there? You think that's what does it, or?
I think that's part of it. Let's see. The LBL is what, 100? Is it 170,000 acres, or is it 70,000 acres? But well, either one, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of wilderness there, and if you're a creature whose home is in the woods, then you're going to be a master at the art of cover and concealment.
Yeah.
And only be seen if you want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all have a lot of activity?
Say again?
Did y'all have a lot of activity?
We did. We had a lot of vocalizations starting the first night, and we found a tremendous number of different kinds of tracks. We didn't have to go too awfully far from Colson Holler either. We had paranormal activity in addition to the cryptid activity. They clearly would come into that bay right there near Colson Holler at night, fishing, I guess, catching, getting mussels, because we would find these giant piles of mussels that had been opened. But it was in the middle of the woods. It wasn't near water.
So definitely not birds in.
No, and it just seemed too far for like a raccoon or other small mammal to grab a mussel and then go that far inland away from water to eat them.
Right. Yeah, LBL is 171,280 acres. That's a lot of land.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cemeteries there too. That some say that the dog man is drawn to these cemeteries. You know, I don't know if it's protecting them or what. Some people say that. Have you ever seen a dog man?
No, I have not seen a dog man. I believe I've heard them in our area, in the South Mountains area, but I've not seen one. And I've not found a dog man track here. I found plenty of Bigfoot tracks, but never a dog nothing but the howls. And I don't think the times that I've heard the howls, which hadn't been that many, 10 or 12 times, but it just didn't sound like a cryptid, a Bigfoot to me. It sounded more like a big giant dog yelling off in the distance.
But we told you about what happened when we was up there at the Devil's Tramping Ground, didn't we? About hearing that almost like a Ohio howl.
Yes, you did tell me that.
Well, I wish we would have been able to get that on audio, but it was crazy.
It was.
How freaky was that? How close was it to you?
It wasn't too far away, and when it did it, what was crazy is that right after it was done, all the way around us, all the coyotes started yipping. And so that's what kind of made it weird, was that it was this big long howl. And then when it stopped, all these coyotes, they were practically all the way around us. You could hear them just or go crazy.
They tend to do that. They tend to set the coyotes off. I wonder if that's the coyotes are just sending out a broad spectrum warning. Hey, we just heard a booger.
Yeah.
I've heard a coyote here on several occasions, and it sounded like the animal was being torn apart. It was the most heartbreaking thing.
Wow.
I know when we heard that one, we had our backs to where it came from. But I would say it's probably 200 yards. When we actually walked back there, there was a big open field back there. I think that's where it came from, around in there. It was pretty wild.
Your paranormal spots attract dogmen, whether it's a cemetery or whatever. That's just my personal gut belief. I know that we all know that they're attracted to cemeteries.
Yeah,
you guys just mentioned that.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. So what kind of activity did you guys get? Like you said, you also got paranormal activity. So what kind of paranormal activity did you get there?
Yeah, we had a incident where Rob Effler got sick at a graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we found out one of the graves had been messed with. Just one, and that was the one he was recording activity with his device, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm not a student of the paranormal stuff yet, as far as the tools go. But that one grave, and that one grave alone, was the only one that had this activity over it, and that happened to be the one he was close to when he started feeling sick. And then there was hearing the voices that wasn't there during the daytime, not at night. And we could clearly see around us, and there was nobody there. They're disembodied voices.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, a misconception. Jason and I, when we will do our paranormal talks, sometimes we'll get asked questions like, well, why do you guys go during the nighttime and do these investigations? Is that when they're active? Not necessarily. Normally you do them at nighttime because everything else is not as active. You don't get as much background noise, right? Cars and people and all kinds of other stuff. So then you could better discern what's going on from, one from the other. It's easier to debunk, okay, well, that's just whatever, versus during the daytime. Half the time, if you're in a really busy area, it's really hard to tell if you hear some voice, if it didn't come from somewhere else. That's usually the only reason. But to be able to get them in the daytime, I think that it's just as likely.
Yeah, I would. I've really not been on a paranormal investigation per se, but I think I would rather do it at night too, because you don't have to deal with people.
Yep. Well, when you go back through your evidence, it just makes it easier. There's not a lot of other stuff to go through and everything.
I
would say, and you guys tell me if you agree with me, but I would say there is this supernatural proclivity toward these spirits and demons and everything else. Oftentimes they're more active at night than during the day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you've caught a few orbs too on your property, right?
Yeah, orbs is a big thing in this area. Several times orbs and these lights that are on the ground, they will go off like a camera strobe, an old school flash bulb, but they're orange. You can see them off in the distance, and there will usually be 2 or 3, and then they'll stop. Then there's the orbs. Then there's the lights in the trees. We recorded one night on a high ridge not too far from here. We had been being followed and shadowed by Bigfoot. We got him on. We could see him on thermal. He was keeping about 40-yard distance, and suddenly, my cousin's wife said, "Look in that tree." And it was not in the sky. It was in the tree. It was a red and a green light. And it was, one would come on and move and go off. The other one would come on and move and go off. And that went on for like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Was able to record that and get that on video. And the lights are a big thing here. And we're not too awfully far as the crow flies from Brown Mountain Lights. That's northwest of me. And we know there's a connection between places where there's lots of orbs and weird lights and paranormal activity and cryptids.
So I've got to do this real quick, but have you heard some of the debunking stuff where they've tried to debunk the Brown Mountain Lights?
I have.
Like the crystal theory of the crystals and then the tectonic movements, which we all know, you could take 2 crystals and rub them and it'll create electricity and it'll create light. But it still doesn't, in my mind, it still doesn't it might give for a little flash or something, but it ain't going to give for something that actually moves around and stuff like that.
Exactly. Well put. It's gonna release energy, and then it's finished releasing energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't release a autonomous light source, and the light source just decides to dance around them. They've been trying to debunk the Brown Mountain Lights for 150 years. They at one time was it the USGS or the National Geographic said, we think it's trains that you're seeing running in the distance. And then they had the flood of, what was it, 1916, and it washed all the trestles out in western North Carolina. No trains, but the lights kept on coming.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's funny to me though, because I'll go back to it 100 times, but to me, the Native Americans have talked about for centuries, orbs and Bigfoot together, like they're the same. And what do you think about the fact that it could be something to do with the Bigfoot?
The first time I really gave that serious consideration is way back, maybe a year and a half ago, on the NCI show. We had a guest, and I can't remember the guest's name, but they had a series of pictures, and there was clearly a creature in the picture. This was a daytime photograph. There was a creature there, and then there wasn't a creature, but above that, kind of 30 feet up, maybe at a tree, in a tree, there was an orb. And I said, that's too much to be coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it makes sense to me too, though. You have tons and tons of anecdotal evidence of people telling you that they're seeing these orbs, kind of like the Brown Mountain Lights that have been going on for hundreds of years. But then also see these orbs and then seeing this creature, or like you just said, seeing the creature and then seeing an orb. You know.
A friend of mine installed a cell camera, and this wasn't out at one of the research areas. This was actually at the bottom of my hill. It was the first time that a camera had been put there, and it was the first cell phone camera. And I started getting messages from him day and night. He said, "Hey, look at what this thing just picked up on audio or video." But the orbs that his camera captured was amazing. And there's one set of orb pictures over a period of about 20 minutes that were changing positions. And that's right there near the old graveyard as well, just to throw in another twist. He's got a lot of the strange, I got the orb videos, I got the strange light videos, and but I don't have any plausible explanations at all. We also see what I believe are UFOs, or whatever they call them now, UAPs, in the sky, as in up in the sky.
I like UFO better.
I do too. I showed a couple. We went to Johnson City a couple Saturdays ago, and there was some MUFON guys there, including John Dixon, who I'd never met. Pretty awesome dude. Him and another fella, and they looked at a picture I have. It's a triangle of lights in the southeastern sky, and they said, "Well, we don't know what could make that." And when it happened, I didn't video. I was taking pictures. I wasn't videoing, but two of the lights, the two southernmost lights, just went out, blinked, gone. The one northernmost light at the tip of the triangle took off like faster than any military aircraft I ever saw in all my years in the military. So there's that too, just to throw in more. But you got this whole thing mixed in together in so many places. So what? Why?
That's the thing that does kind of come out every once in a while. You've got the paranormal in a whole, right? So everything, Bigfoot, down to spirits and all the way up to, ET, every one of these things, and they seem to sometimes almost fit together. It's almost like you just got one piece of a puzzle that's missing, and you can't quite figure out how that they somehow go together. It's weird. I know I heard a guy talk about it a few years back, and I think he wrote a book or something, but he was talking about the theory of everything, how it all was the same thing, but not the same thing.
We may very well get the answer out of quantum physics or quantum mechanics one of these days. Who knows? Dimensional overlaps.
Yep.
Portals, or just 5 years ago, I would have never envisioned having this conversation. But now, absolutely.
And by this conversation, you mean like dimensional, all of that kind of stuff?
Yep. And 5-6 years ago, I would have been willing to say, well, we're dealing with a flesh and blood creature. These other things are just coincidences. But I've seen too much. I have, and more importantly, I've seen and read things other people hasn't seen for themselves, and a lot of it's on video, audio evidence, and that type of thing. And then I watched Skinwalker Ranch, The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, and then I started reading the books on that place, and George Knapp's
That is pretty awesome.
for sure.
I got a hard question for you. You don't have to answer it. It's probably hard. But how
Uh-oh.
do you I know you're a man of God. How do you put those two together, or do you put those together? I mean, a lot of people have a problem with it. That's religious.
Here's the assumption that Christians make. They wrongly assume that when we was, the Lord gave us the Bible, that he put all the information in that Bible, and if it's, that he put everything in there, and he didn't. The Lord gave us what he wanted us to know, but there's plenty of hints in there that, or even more than hints, with the Nephilims and the giants, and certainly all of the the times when Jesus or the apostles, the disciples, encountered demons and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They talk several places in the Bible about ghosts. When the disciples was in the boat and they looked and they were all scared because they thought they were seeing a ghost coming across the water. So it mentions all these different things. I don't see any conflict between being a Christian and believing this stuff, or even doing what we're doing, researching it, investigating. I don't see any conflict whatsoever. And there's also nothing in the Bible that would preclude, the creator of the universe from also making other planets with other beings.
Right. Good answer.
That brings us back to that new movie that just came out. You know what that is? You know what it is, Jason?
The Disclosure movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've not seen it. David's seen it.
So the same topic that Jason just asked comes up in that movie. And there's a nun in the movie that says pretty much the same thing that you just said, right? There's the Bible isn't to teach about none of that stuff. It's just God wanted. And who's to say that he didn't create all this other stuff? She actually put it, why would he create such a vast universe and fill it full of all kinds of stuff if there wasn't other things out there to enjoy it? And but it's funny because that actually came up during that movie. And if you haven't watched it, watch it.
Is it streaming on something now, or is it at the movies?
No, it's at the theaters.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's still at the movies. It is.
What's
It's
the
awesome.
name of it, David? I know Stephen King, right?
Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And it was who wrote the movie?
Stephen King.
No, I can't believe
Did Dr. Stephen Greer have anything to do with the movie?
No, it was Steven Spielberg. Yeah, Spielberg. And I think this is one of his best. One of his best. Yeah. I've watched many people interview him since the movie, and he says that movie is closer to the truth than you think.
Oh, I believe it.
So,
along these lines, we're talking about extraterrestrial beings, but also in yet another area, we're talking about supernatural beings, or physical beings that have supernatural powers. We don't know enough about either one of those things to discount anything. I had a mentor whose name was Richard Eagle Thomas, and he took me under his wing in a very, very low point in my life. And I truly believe that me meeting him was one of those divine intercession things, because I was riding my Harley in the middle of nowhere, a place called Iron Station, North Carolina, and I saw a little shop, Native American Arts and Crafts. Of course, I'm interested in that because, you know, I have that in my ancestry. I really didn't have time that day, but I found myself just pulling in, and I met Richard, and he became a wonderful mentor, a friend. He also was a preacher. He was a Pentecostal preacher too. But one day I was just in there talking to him, and out of the blue, he said, I meant to tell you something. Hold on. And he turned around and he grabbed a sheet of white printer paper out of his printer. And he said, you see this sheet of paper? And he held it up. I said, yes, sir. He said, that's the spiritual realm. And he took a red Bic ballpoint pen. He made a tiny red dot on that paper. And he said, that dot is what we understand.
Yes.
And of course, most people refuse to believe in the supernatural, in the paranormal. It's real, and we know it's real. We just don't understand all of it. We don't understand the concept enough to say it doesn't exist. But you've got the folks, you know, who are trapped in the box, on everything, that don't want to depart from the mainstream thinking on anything. There's been people that's come here, or that I've taken into other areas, who almost instantaneously were converted out of the box the first time they got to hear something, or tree knocking, or they saw something or smelled the smell. We took some National Public Radio people out into these South Mountains woods a couple of years ago, and they were, as you can imagine, they were nice, but you could tell where they stood. They weren't really making fun of us or anything, but you can read a person's spirit. Mm-hmm. And then we got in the woods, and it got dark, and they got to hear a booger, a Bigfoot yelling, and they got to hear a tree knock, and they got to smell the smell. And I've seen a few others instantly converted out of the lost realm of the skeptic over to at least considering these things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I myself was a skeptic until one fateful day in 2012. I mean, I haven't seen a Bigfoot, but I've heard the yell. I've had rocks thrown at me. But the thing that got me into all the paranormal, I mean, Bigfoot's paranormal to me. Everything, UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts. And I went to David's. I probably told this story 100 times, and I got my socks knocked off of me. Wouldn't go back for 2 weeks. Said, Dave, man, I can't come back over there right now. But eventually I did, and I knew when that first time that I heard that little girl's voice, that it was real. Crazy.
Yeah.
My paranormal experiences are just a couple in my entire life. I don't know if ghosts don't like me or they don't want to. But when I was a little boy, 5 years old, my parents built a house at the foot of a mountain called Pacehour Mountain. And, you know, there had never been a structure there before. It had been woods. And I started seeing this dark figure in my door at night. And I can remember the terror I felt. I'm 59 years old, and I was 5 and also 6 years old, because it went on for more than a year. I can still remember the terror that I had, and I would scream. Mom would come get me, and they said, we'll start leaving the hallway light on. That made it even worse because it was backlit or something. And after my parents split up, we moved out of that house. I never really had any kind of paranormal experience until my wife and I was laying in bed back in the mid-90s. Actually, we were asleep, and I woke up, and there was a dark figure standing at the foot of the bed. And I was absolutely terrified. And I couldn't even hardly talk. And the only thing I could think to do was say, Jesus. And it left. And that's the extent of my paranormal encounters my whole life. But I believe.
How old was you?
When first happened, I was 5, or from the time I was 5 up until I was about 6.5. It would happen periodically.
Yeah. For me, it started at the age of 3.
Oh wow.
And it was scary as heck for me, but it wasn't because it was just a silhouette or something weird. I'd be laying down in bed sleeping, and I'd wake up, and they would be like 3 or 4 people standing beside my bed watching me sleep. And they look like, I'm looking at you guys right now. I mean, they look like just regular people, but I didn't know who they were. And so I would jump up and run through the house, and they would follow me for some reason, and I'd be screaming and yelling. And this happened from about the time I was 3 to the time I was 5. And I remember, because we were really big in church back then, and my mom was understanding. She never tried to say, oh, you're hallucinating, or these things don't exist, back to bed. And I guess she had talked to our preacher, because I remember him more than one time pulling me to the side after church and talking to me about it and saying, you've got a gift. You've been given this gift that you could see these things. And being that young and it being that scary for me, all I could think about was like, you want it? Take it away. I don't want this. Which I still have it now. I still see things and stuff. And when I see them, they look like regular people. They're not see-through. They're not hovering, or they just look like regular people standing there. So,
what do you think what kind of entity would that have been that I saw so many times when I was a little boy, and then the one time back when I was in my 30s, early 30s, I guess it was, when I had the one night with the thing standing at the foot of the bed, shadow, black silhouette.
Sounds like your perfect shadow person. Is what it sounds like to me. Did the one when you was older, did it have a hat on or anything?
No, not that I can say that I remember. The silhouette, I would have probably noticed it, and I definitely, I can still see the thing looking at me from my door in my room when I was a kid. I still see and there definitely wasn't a hat then. The second time, I can't say either way with the hat.
It may have been the same thing.
Yeah, probably was. And there's so many theories that they have on these shadow people. And they range from future people being able to come back, and this is just if they're able to be spotted, they're just almost doing like, just watching what's going on during this time period kind of thing, taking notes. That's why there always seem to be over in a corner or something like that, ranging from that to, all kinds of other stuff, where they're watchers. That's what they do. They just watch.
Yeah, they're just curious.
Yeah, and it seems like there's nothing, a lot of people put a negative connotation to them, but from all the stories that I've heard, and one of the best stories that I ever heard was Mike Ricksecker, and he wrote a book on it and stuff. But when he was a kid, he had one come into his room, and for some reason, he thought he was asleep or thought he was dead, because it walked up and it moved his hands to be like this over his chest. And then when he screamed for his mom, it was gone. But he even said that it was scary at the moment, but the more that he looks back on it, he's like, it was really, I didn't really feel a negative connotation to it. So
I think when I was a kid, just seeing somebody in my door,
Scary enough.
and it happened over and over. And my dad thought it was important for me to deal with it and not start sleeping with them.
Yeah.
And it didn't stop until we left that home after mom and dad split up.
Might be something that was tied to the property too, though. The thing is when you look at a Native American lore and even you don't even have to go Native American. I mean, you could go to lore from just about any place around this world. They talk about, spirits of the land. So, you've got all kinds of different things that it could be, especially like you said, it used to be a forest. Maybe something got mad that you cut the forest down and put a house there.
And one interesting side note to it is that mountain was named after my 5th great grandfather. But it had that spot where my mom and dad built a house was previously woods. It never had any type of habitation or a barn or nothing on it. So it was freshly cut forest. Maybe that's what it was.
Yep. Maybe something didn't like the fact that you did that, or you didn't ask permission before you cut the trees.
And there was the Catawba Indians. It's about 45 minutes east of where I'm at now, but that would have been pretty much in Catawba territory. And to this day, you can find the arrowheads and other relics up there in and around that area. Could have been tied to that too, like you said.
Catawba. Now, I think that is the tribe that was up at the Devil's Tramping Ground. Pretty sure it was. They had a big battle there, supposedly, and the chief of that tribe got killed, and they buried him right there in that circle. That's the legend. But I think that's the same tribe. Yeah.
And where we live now is no man's land between the Catawba Nation, Cherokee Nation, back in the day, and it was a rich hunting area. But if one hunting party from the Cherokee, one hunting party from the Catawba met, they would fight. So this place was a rich hunting ground, and a lot of blood spilled before Europeans ever set foot here.
Yep.
Is North Carolina rich in quartz, or
Yes.
is it just that one place that we went to? Because you would trip over it walking. It's crazy.
We are rich in quartz, especially in Western North Carolina. We could walk out in the woods now, and I could, within a 10-minute walk, take you to 3 quartz veins. A lot of quartz.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting at all the quartz that we had seen up there.
Tons of it all over the place. There's people who was going up there just to dig the quartz out of the ground while we was camping.
Robert Effler, you guys know Robert that's on the NCI team. Him and George founded NCI, but Robert used to be he was a paranormal investigator solely before he became a cryptid investigator. He did go dark paranormal investigations, but he's a big believer in the quartz energy drawing spiritual energy. He gives a pretty good explanation of it.
Well, I mean, there's a reason they use quartz in watches, because it actually does vibrate at a specific frequency. And so why wouldn't it, spirits and stuff like that be able to use that and draw on that to do whatever they need to do, manifest or whatever else.
And that's another thing to throw in the mix.
Yep.
Have y'all ever done a show on ley lines?
No, not really.
That's something I want to learn more about, but I've ordered a couple books, and frankly, I made more sense out of reading a phone book. And we've talked about it on our show some, and I've tried to read on the internet, but I wish we could find a really just super duper ley line person here in the U.S. that could explain some of this stuff, because we have crossing ley lines near here in the south of the South Mountains. 2 of them cross, and a lot of the areas of
Be a lot of energy.
paranormal activity areas have a ley line running through them or near them.
Yeah.
So there's another thing to throw in the mix.
Yeah. That's interesting. Cindy says,
Very interesting.
One of the ley lines runs from all the way up, and I think it starts near Calgary in Canada and runs down through here. And then there's another ley line, I think it's called a Pilot Mountain, one of the Pilot Mountain ley lines that run through here, and those two intersect. I have no clue where they intersect, but by process of elimination, it's on this side of the South Mountains in my neck of the woods somewhere.
So on your property, what is the well, just around your property, what's the best evidence that you have?
Well, there's the sightings.
I'll be back.
The visual sightings. You have several visual sightings with witnesses, and then there's other visual sightings that you can't confirm 100%. What, like on thermal, you're seeing something off in the distance that appears to be broad, big, keeping a distance, and you can see a thermal signature, and it's easy to estimate that you're looking at something larger. We had one watching us from behind a big pine tree, and it kept poking its head out and looking at us, and so you could see the thermal signature of the face. I got the video that I made last spring of, I don't know what it is. It was white or gray. This was I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I went out to check my animals. They were acting weird, and then I started looking around. I came back in, got my big spotlight, and I grabbed my cell phone, and this thing was downhill southwest of me, and it just walked out of the darkness and stayed in sight for maybe 12, 14 seconds. It was very tall. It was lanky. If it was a Sasquatch, it was an old Sasquatch, which would explain the grayness, and it had lost its muscle mass. Bob Trent and Dwight Campbell from Sasquatch Recon came. Tim Deals and I are also members of Sasquatch Recon, but Bob came. Bob's super great technical guy, and Dwight Campbell is also one of the best investigators you'll ever talk to. So we recreated that video. Bob set his cameras up where I was the night that I filmed it on my cell phone, and then I went down there to where this entity or creature or whatever we're going to call it, where it was, and I took a fluorescent yellow stick with me. And we had something really good going for us. There were 6-foot fence posts in the frame on the video. So we had that to go off of. But the ground went down in elevation somewhat there where the creature was. But we estimate 9 feet tall based on the recreation. So there's that one. Can I say what it is? No, but it wasn't a person unless we had a 9-foot dude randomly just at, out here. Listen, around here, if you found skulking around and stalking in the dark, they ain't nobody calling the police. Let's just say it wouldn't turn out good for somebody. Countless vocalizations, and people come at me sometimes and say, well, how do you get to experience so much? Well, I'm out. Number one, I'm outside at night every night because I've got at least 10 dogs at any given time. Right now I have 11, and I take them out every single night. Some nights I'll just go out and sit. I live in it. It's a mathematical equation. The more you put yourself in a place to have the opportunity, the more you're going to increase your chances. Does it happen every night? No, by far, no. Sometimes there'll be streaks of nights where there's yelling, whooping, tree knocking, but we've had the rock throwing incidents, four rock throwing incidents, and plenty of campouts where we've camped out, where other people's camped out. You have they keep a distance usually. They have this thing, especially in the Appalachian mountains. They love to use the mountain laurel for cover, and so they'll watch camp from a distance, and that's happened many times. There was a family that camped down here in this creek bottom who heard the gibberish. They heard it from two different individuals, two different creatures, and they fled that night.
Do you think they were talking back and forth?
Yes, I think that there was one of the creatures seemed to be the voice of reason, and the other one was acting like a jerk, because the witnesses said when they heard the first gibberish, that it sounded even keel, not aggressive, not mean. But then immediately there was this second voice that sounded mean. Sounded really mad. And then the one that they heard the first time, the even killed one, just remained calm, said something else in whatever language it was, and then it stopped. And a little bit later, they wound up being surrounded, and they could hear the footfalls around them. And we've experienced that many times camping in a number of different places, to include here. So there's all of that. You know, it's the totality of everything that I've experienced, everything that people that's been with me have experienced, but more importantly, the totality of all the people that I've interviewed from the South Mountains area of North Carolina, and I've also interviewed a number of people from Eastern North Carolina, down there in the swampy section of North Carolina, and in Eastern South Carolina. I've got a backlog of people that I need to talk to. So you take everything and bundle it up, and it's irrefutable. There's been one incident in particular that got my attention above and beyond everything else. And that was in a research area where a friend of mine came here and camped. He drove 5.5 hours to come camp.
Wow.
And the first anomaly that day was during the daytime. We heard a tree knock. Now, we don't hear things here. We don't hear things in the daytime. You have to go into the middle of the South Mountains themselves, way out there in the middle of the giant 100,000 acres mountain range, and you'll get to hear stuff in the daytime. But that day, we heard a daytime tree knock. We went back to camp, got settled in. About 10 o'clock, we heard these howls that we were talking about earlier, 2 of them. And not coyotes. We don't have wolves, but if we did, they weren't wolves. They were too deep frequency, and they went on too long. It took big old lungs to make these noises. We didn't hear anything else. About 1 a.m. on night vision, there was something across the creek, standing in the mountain laurel. You could clearly see most of it. You know, the silhouette, though it was broken by the foliage, it was standing there watching us. And it was easy to extrapolate that it was tall, because I know that area and you know, how far up the eyes were, how far apart they were. And it finally went on. And nothing else happened. We went to bed. And I gave him a radio. I said, you call me, or I'll call you if something happens. And a little bit before 4 a.m., he radioed me, and he said, are you hearing this stuff? And so I kind of came to, and I heard whooping, and I heard it just instinctively sounded like this. Chest beating. That's exactly what it sounded like to me. But then there was other noises. I don't know, it's cackling, something I've never heard before. But none of it sounded friendly. I have been afraid some, there's some times I've been afraid. I think I talked about a few times when I've been afraid, but this was different. I had that feeling. And he said, do you have any objection to us getting out of here? And I said, none whatsoever. Get your pack, meet me outside. Whatever you don't want pilfered or dragged into the woods, bring it. And just as we come out of our tents, approaching the back of my truck, right behind my tent, it was a measurement of feet, not yards. You heard just this ominous sounding, aggressive, and it did it again. That why did that stand out to me more than all the other times? Because I felt like that they were aggressing us. It was different from other times down in that investigation areas when they just surrounded us but kept their distance. You could hear them on all three sides, or when they shadow you and follow you from a distance or watch you. They came in on us, and they were from more than one direction. And I had a bad feeling, and I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed to say that I was scared, and we fled. I was told long ago, 5-6 years ago, by Bob Trent and Dwight Campbell, said, if you get a bad feeling, you just need to leave a place. That was beyond a bad feeling. It felt, I don't guess I can say evil, but it felt like it had bad intentions.
What do you think the difference between that night and any other night that you've had before is? Do you think that they're like, okay, you've gotten too close, we've got little ones around, we want you out of here? I mean, do you think it could be that?
It could have been that, but I since found out something that the Monday, Tuesday, and the morning that we camped, prior to us camping, that up to and including that morning, there was some feral cats. There was oodles of them, like more than 50, and they were really putting a hurting on the songbirds and beneficial snakes and so on and so forth. And two people took it upon themselves, and I'm sure they get. I don't judge them for it. It hurts my heart because I love animals, but they basically got on high ground and sniped more than 40 cats. And I wonder, and I've talked with a couple of folks, did that upset them, that indiscriminate killing? Or did they kill a source of a snack for these creatures? I can't see why they wouldn't. They'll eat a deer, apparently eat a goat or pig sometimes. I don't know why they wouldn't eat a cat.
Well,
but at any rate, that was completely and totally different from anything I ever experienced. The closest I can come in describing the feeling is when we were at the LBL on that first night. We started hearing something vocalizing up on high ground, and I kind of felt that way. But that night, I really felt like that they may have heard us had we not left.
Do you think that they were? Oh, go ahead, Jason.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think that they were tying you to being there to what had happened with those people that had killed those cats?
I'm going to say that they wasn't tying us directly, because when in an area like this where the woods, plenty of woods, if you go in these woods, they know you're there, and you're probably going to be watched if you go far enough. So many times as I've gotten into some of the hotter areas in and around me, you can see them usually on high ground, using mountain laurel for cover and just watching you and following you. And I would bet that the day that these two fellows were killing the cats, they had these creatures had a visual on it. I'm sure they investigated it. They probably were upset because they didn't want none of us humans down there. I could be totally off base, and the two incidents could be completely disconnected, but I'm basing this on many years of having experiences here. And that one stood out.
That story takes me back to your little dog that got lost for 19 days. I mean, maybe they were, I don't know, maybe they have passion for these little things like the cats and the dogs, and they were really pissed off because somebody was killing them. It's just a coincidence, I think, but seems like they are passionate about the smaller creatures.
Well, we don't find like raccoons or possums or skunks or bobcats or anything just indiscriminately killed and predated on out in these woods. But what we do find, besides the incidents involving dogs or pigs or goats, by far the most prevalent is finding the deer, where they've clearly ambushed them. The telltale signs, I mean, you can sum them up and, you know, counting the things on one hand, you're going to have fractured ribs. You're going to have sometimes a broken neck. Almost always you'll have a broken limb, a broken leg, and usually it's a back leg. One of them we found had both legs ripped off together. The meat was still, I hate to get graphic here and gross people out, but the legs were still connected by chest tissue, muscle and tissue. The legs were ripped off. So I think they hunt those for food.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they have chasers and watchers. They'll get into a holler, like at the beginning of a holler, the watchers or the ambushers will set up, and then the chasers will try to funnel the deer toward them. And they don't, as far as I know, there's no accounts of other than rocks of Sasquatches using weapons. So they have to manhandle them and incapacitate them with either a broken neck or a broken leg, or just grabbing them and squeezing them like a giant constrictor or something. The ribs, it's really graphic the way the ribs look.
You know,
this is not just one or two carcasses. You know, this is over time of finding them, to include in areas of concentration. You find 8 or 10 deer in an area that's, you know, less than 2 acres out in the woods. Well, that's a killing field. That's a hunting spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, going back to what y'all were just talking about with the smaller animals and all of that stuff, it kind of brings back, you know, Cherokee legends of Sukaloo and how you could not go into the woods without his permission to hunt. And so, you know, with these things being indiscriminately killed, could have brought out that side of these creatures that these ancient people knew about.
Yeah. There's a couple of friends of mine that was at the Georgia Bigfoot Town Hall a couple months ago that Dr. Stamey did and Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress, did. And so I had the opportunity to run that by them, and they're super in tune with more of the natural spiritual side of the house. And that's what they said. Not only did they upset the balance, they may have even attracted an evil entity. And if people can be influenced by evil entities, why couldn't these creatures also be influenced?
Right. Yep.
Worth considering.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a different take on it.
I wished I had time to tell y'all. Well, it's not that I don't have the time. I wished I had the brain capacity. When I do a podcast, sometimes there's things I mean to talk about that I don't, because there's a lot of stuff going on up here. I've interviewed, you know, like 36, 38 people from South Mountains, and then another 8 or 10 from down eastern North Carolina. But you see these stories like we're talking about where something has upset something, where suddenly you just have this aggressive behavior just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I've seen that in especially around here in areas where there's been there's so many areas that has a history of these cryptid sightings, Bigfoot sightings, but not near 95% of the accounts of the experiences aren't where the creature seemed menacing or aggressive, like they were going to hurt somebody, but there's the small percentage where they clearly were aggressive, like the night that me and my friend experienced.
You know, something comes to mind too. We talked to some people before that said that what they believe happens, especially with these encounters that are a little bit more scary on the side of where they feel something's going to come in on them, that when a juvenile gets big enough, a male gets old enough, he gets expelled out. It's time for him to go and find his own way and do stuff. And he no longer at that point has, you know, his clan or his you know, everybody with him. And if that is what does, you know, is what happens, these things could be a little bit more, you know, aggressive, just because now it's just me and I've got to fend for myself, and I've also got to get food and all these things, you know.
There was a time period. It's interesting that you said that, because when I was talking earlier about the mischievous things that have gone on here with things being taken out of our barn, our feed barrels being broken into, things scattered in our backyard, lawn chairs put up in the trees, that type of thing. I believe that's adolescent Sasquatches that are being mischievous. But there was a very, very famous time here in this area, in and around the town of Kaiser, North Carolina, in 1978 and 1979, where suddenly the reports of encounters exploded. And, you know, you would hear reports, people would describe it between 6.5, 7.5 feet tall, but it was showing itself day and night. That is an inexperienced adolescent Bigfoot that's probably either left the clan or got run off from the clan. And that was a very extraordinary time. When I finally get my book finished, a big part of the book's going to be devoted to that time period. There was some horrifying encounters, and I was fascinated to find out the things that I did in the course of talking to folks and then digging on the internet. And I actually found an old documentary that had been made in 1980 by a fellow from Tennessee named James N. Alexander. There was some witnesses I needed to talk to, but I had a problem. I didn't have a psychic medium because these witnesses were dead. Well, on this old documentary that Dwight Campbell found, it's right here on YouTube, those witnesses were interviewed.
Oh, wow.
But it was a time period when I believe it was probably one or two rogue male adolescent Sasquatches that had no guidance. They weren't, you know, they were like human teenagers. And let's face it, guys, when we were teenagers, we were just dumb.
Yep.
They were showing themselves at day and night.
Yep.
That's the truth.
That's
And
interesting.
What do we say about the hormone when we talk about a teenager? What do we say about their hormones raging?
Yeah. Yeah.
There ain't nothing. There's not many things on earth that can get as aggressive as a teenage boy about 17 years old if they get mad, or if it involves impressing a lady or something.
Right.
Yep. That's when you do the stupidest things. Yeah. That, you know, that's funny though, because that does go right towards where we was talking about. There's a possibility at some point, you know, Daddy goes, "Time for you to go, son."
You know, the night that I was speaking of that me and my friend experienced, there was more than one that night. I'm going to, at minimum, there was 3, because by the time it was said and done, as we heard the vocalizations, suddenly they erupted. It was in from more than one direction. But there's nothing saying that couldn't have been 3 adolescent squatches. The tracks that I found in and around this area almost always has been between 13 to 17 inches. Found one that was 18 inches, a really big one, because by the depression that it left in the hard packed sandbar, it was like 750, 800 pounds. But usually 14, 15 inch track, 500 pounds, give or take. And that points to what? Adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They were just letting you know that they were there.
And I think the nights that, when I spoke earlier of the few times I've had to go out looking for a missing pasture animal, because we have alpacas, llamas, goats, for goodness sake, I might come home one night and I'll have a giraffe, because my wife brings everything home. But these nights, I don't think they were being aggressive toward me. I think they were telling me they wanted me out of the area. I think they were deer hunting.
You're in their field. Where
I felt fear. I certainly felt fear, and I felt compelled to get out and go back up that hill.
Now,
but it doesn't compare to that night in question that happened just, back in early May.
Was y'all able to go back and get your stuff?
Yes, we did. We did go back and get the stuff.
Didn't tear anything down or?
No, we checked the creek. It's a very, very small creek, and it's mostly rocks. The sand is in the creek. It doesn't have defined banks because it's such a small. Matter of fact, we in East Tennessee and West North Carolina, we call it a branch, not a creek. So, if it's not in sand or mucky area, your chance of finding a footprint in the Appalachian forest with the leaf litter is slim to none.
Yeah.
But no, nothing was bothered. Not a thing was gone.
They accomplished what they wanted. They got you out of there, and then they could care less.
Yeah. And the question that I asked myself over and over is, just as we were leaving, from the time we made the decision to leave to the time we came out and was right at the back of my truck, and we heard that real menacing set of, you're talking just a minute and a half, 2 minutes at the most. It had closed distance, and it came right on top of us. They don't do that. We may have wound up on Politis's missing 411 for all I know.
that was all.
No, not good.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been too good.
It was very scary, and it impacted me, and it impacted him, and I don't mind saying that. And it continues to bother me. I haven't been back there since the morning we went to get our stuff.
Wow.
I think I would prefer to go back there. It would be easier for me if I got somebody to go with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys got to come camp with us here.
Yes. We want to so bad. I mean, come up there and stay a couple of days or something would be just amazing.
Well, open door invite. This is a hotspot area. I'll take you to some of the other investigation areas as well. We have an ongoing investigation area that, as the crow flies, it's not that too far. It's about 15-minute drive, because we got to go around the Black Snake roads, and you have to go around your elbow to get your butt.
Right.
This particular site is my favorite investigation area. The couple that lives there has had years of experiences with vocalizations and tree knocks. But last year they contacted me, and they were seeing things moving in close. And then the wildlife lovers and the husband had made all these different kinds of feeders to feed raccoons, skunks, birds, deer, whatever, different kinds of feed, different kind of feeders. They even left dog food out for the raccoons and the possums. Everything stopped coming in. Prior to that, he was having to refill the feeders every day, and everything stopped. And they went a week without anything coming up to feed, and they contacted me. I went over there, and the husband walked me the property, which incidentally bumps up against the Broad River. They always follow the creeks or the rivers. That's a line from Legend of Boggy Creek, and I found that to be so true. We found a couple of partial tracks down in a small branch. One was very fortuitous. It was the front half of the foot. The back half had to impact, had set down on some rocks. I said, that is a squatch track. I took a picture of it, and he was still in kind of disbelief. We walked all the way to the river, and incidentally, we've also found some big cat tracks. As in not bobcat, panther, but those normally, you know, they'll move through an area and then they'll keep moving. They may stay in an area a week or so and move on. But this went on with nothing coming up to feed for a long time. And I got one of our NCI, well, at the time he wasn't an NCI guy, but Todd Landers. I said, we need to do a nighttime. The guys that live further west in the hills, Tim and Robert and George, you know, they couldn't come down. So we did a nighttime. It was a very productive nighttime investigation. Heard the whoops, heard a tree knock or two. And we packed it in about midnight that night and left. And the very next evening, this couple was there in their yard, and there was one watching them from the woods, bordering their yard, and she got a picture. The silhouette. Was able to look at that area and determine it wasn't, if it was a man, it was like an 8-foot tall man who was abnormally big.
Very large guy just standing there.
And so they continued to have closer vocalizations. For whatever reason, the creatures had moved closer to where they lived, up out of the river bottom. And we did another nighttime. And is one of those nights where it started out just terribly slow. And I actually leaned back on my pack and was napping. You know, I guess it was maybe 10:30 at night. And he gave me the elbow and said, wake up. There are lights in the trees. And he had never seen anything like this. And sure enough, there were lights in the trees. They would come on, they would move. Both of us grew up being in the woods. These weren't in the skyline. These were below the skyline level. Just a few minutes later, I heard, for the first time in my life, the rock clacking. It went on for 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes of audio, and it was downhill. We had set up on high ground, you know, made us a good observation point and a listening post. And so it was clearly coming from down at the river. And it was more than just one making the rock clacking sound. I don't know, were they trying to communicate? And so Todd said, I'm going to do a Bigfoot yell. And he did, and it stopped. And we didn't have anything else happen. But as we were hiking out that night, we did find a fresh tree break. They had the family that lives there, the husband and wife, they had, you know, another several nights of their dogs being deathly afraid, and they have German shepherds.
Wow.
And hearing the close in vocalizations, and not too awfully long ago, in their backyard were hides ripped off of rabbits, and I'm sure they eat rabbits. I don't think they kill them indiscriminately. I think they'll eat what they have to, just like we do. But she said, should I be afraid? I said, no. In some odd way, I think maybe that was just a gift, or I've yet to collect a story from this area where a person's been hurt. Plenty of people have experienced, you know, what we experienced and been deathly afraid. And there's a possibility, but it's never been recorded in this area. And I told them, I said, you guys are outside all the time at night. Your dogs are outside and they're fenced in, but still yet. So that is an active ongoing investigation area. And it's fascinating because as I sat down and started studying the larger map of this area, there's 2 corridors where you can go from all the way down there to Broad River, all the way to the South Mountains. And basically all you have to do is cross a couple of hard surface roads. There's a corridor north of me that runs like that. And then over there where they're having all these experiences, there's another corridor. And over in the Kaiser area of the South Mountains in the 70s, when they were having all of those sightings, there's a clear corridor from the South Mountains proper closer to town. And in August of this past year, somebody that lives very close to downtown, daytime sighting, she was walking her dog outside and she saw it watching her from the woods. This is the only report of this kind that I've ever personally taken. But she said it had ears sticking on top of its head.
Oh,
And I went over there and in position, same time of day, you know, to try to recreate the picture. And there's clearly nothing there that she could have mistaken. But there's a corridor that goes from their backyard all the way into the South Mountains. So if there's safe passage, you're going to have a travel route for the boogers.
Mm-hmm.
And for those listening that won't know what a booger is, that's a Bigfoot. That could be a ghost. That could be a dog man. That could be whatever we want it to be. But boogers can traverse freely, and they leave the South Mountains interior during cold weather, and they come down, you know, to lower elevation where it's a bit warmer, and most of them go back when it starts getting hot. Not all of them. I think we have some that permanently is probably young, strong males. So you've got these corridors, and I've run that by a couple of people, and you know, it kind of matched up with what their findings were.
I want to go back to what you said about the rock clapping. I've never heard that, except it reminded me of something I had just watched. We have inspired 2 young men about the Coochie Booger, and they have their own YouTube channel now, and they have investigated this place. 11 years old, and they caught it on camera. A clap. It was like clapping. I don't know if it was. I've never heard of rock clapping. Have you, David?
no, never have. The only thing that I've ever had was the same like you. We heard the howl.
Yeah.
Rocks getting thrown at us.
Yeah. But they actually caught it on video of something clapped, like a clap sound. May have been rocks. You never know. But they're really interested in, I think we inspired them, and they're doing a really great job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The good thing about the rock clacking is this. It really doesn't sound like anything else.
Yeah.
I had never heard it, though. I had never heard that. I never heard that. I never heard the gibberish, and I still haven't heard the gibberish, but the rock clacking is pretty distinctive.
Yeah.
I've got something. So a guy that I know has a hunting lease in Georgia, and it's, I don't know, 60 something acres, I think, or something like that. And this one year he had gone in and cleared out an area and started getting it ready for hunting. And he had set out a few cameras. Well, he caught something on a camera. Now these are infrared, and they flash, right? But he says he's got it on a 3 3 picture burst. When it takes one, it takes 3. And something come up. I'm about to show you the photo. You can see the eyes. Now, whatever this is, when that first picture went off, when those other 2 consecutive pictures went off, it wasn't there no more. And and it's pretty interesting. Here it is. You kind of see, you can see the eyes.
Oh wow.
But what's funny is that
Wow.
that's a road bed there. It's an old logging road that you see right in front of it, in
Yeah.
the forefront. He says when it goes off into the other side over there, he says it drops at least 2 to 3 foot. At least 2 to
Wow.
3. He said this thing's got to be 7 foot tall, whatever it is. And I said, well, do you want me to tell you what I think it is, or do you not want me to? He goes, no. He goes, I have to go in there when it's dark. And he goes, and then I leave when it's dark. He goes, I don't want to know.
That looks like a dog man to me.
That's what I told him it could possibly be.
Yeah, you
Wow.
see the black in between the eyes, so they look like a snout.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really good picture.
Yeah, he's like, the eyes are too far apart for a deer or anything.
And something a lot of the general public, especially the skeptics, don't want to admit is when we see a picture like this, you've got to, I mean, you can't just dismiss it and say we're not going to study it. That's a very convincing picture right there.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, he sent it to me and he's like, man.
Wow.
So I sent it to Jay. That's what I was doing a minute ago. I was trying to get it to where I could send it to myself, but for some reason my phone wouldn't do it. So I had to send it to Jason to get Jason to send it to me so that we could pull it up.
And he don't want to know what you think it is.
No,
They don't.
that is definitely not a squatch.
Yeah. Yeah. I told him, I said, he says, it's not a bear. He goes, it's not a deer. And I was like, yeah, keep on going. I said, nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
So,
And it's keenly interested.
yeah.
You know what you should do, David, with that picture?
What?
Put it
Oh,
on
it
our website, Evidence Analyzer, and see if it pulls it out.
Yeah. So we have a evidence analyzer that we created. And so you go onto the website, you can put pictures, audio, video, and it goes through and it'll try to help find anomalies in those photos, videos, and audio.
Hello, Grace.
Hello, Grace.
Grace watches the NCI show, and so does Southern Ohio Bigfoot.
Cool.
Oh, hello, everybody. Daryl states, ignorance is bliss.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's what most people want to maintain their ignorance. And if we block everything out and say it's not real, then you achieve the goal of staying blissfully ignorant.
Yes. Yeah. But we was talking about this and then it came to mind and I was like, oh, I want to show Jerry this picture and see what he thinks about it.
I'm glad that picture blows me away. And for some reason gives me a little bit of a creepy from
Me
this.
too.
It's keenly interested in something it's watching, and it's not a squatch.
Now, was that a trail cam?
Yep.
Okay.
And the crazy thing, like I said, is that he had it on a 3-picture burst.
Mm-hmm.
So first one took this, and then the other 2, there's nothing there.
That is weird.
And also the rest of the NCI, we've stayed pretty low key with our evidence. I put the white creature, the white entity video out there, and Bob put it on Sasquatch Recon, and we did a thing on the NCI show. I think I've showed you guys some of the pictures that we haven't ever released to the public.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say that any picture I have gives me the feeling I have when I see that picture.
That one, when he showed it to me on a cell phone, I was just like, I grabbed his phone and I was like, yeah, no. I wouldn't mind going there and seeing, you know, if I could figure out, you know, but I think this was last year when he was getting ready for, you know, deer season is when that happened.
You say North Georgia?
Yep.
Yeah.
North Georgia.
There's some crazy stuff goes on in North Georgia.
Seems to be a dogman hotspot in northwest Georgia.
Well, and you know what's funny to me is that when it comes to dogman, it seems like where there's been a lot of death, where there's graves and all that stuff, it seems like you always have these tons of dogman sightings. Well, what's right there over the Tennessee Georgia line?
Chickamauga.
One of the big, you know, the second bloodiest battle in the Civil War. Tons of, you know, battles and death and blood, and I'm sure that there's graveyards out down through there, you know.
Yeah. And all along the Appalachian Mountains and foothills, and in other areas where, but you had the skirmishes and the fights between settlers in the Cherokee, or settlers in the Catawba, or settlers in whichever tribe.
Creek, or yeah.
You recall the couple that I said gave me their opinion on the cats causing some evil entities to enter into the picture. Well, they say that the dogmen are nothing more than S-walkers. And people can make fun of me, but I don't say that word. I don't say that word. They're S-walkers. And when they are attracted, they crave negative spiritual energy. And when we do evil things, we, you know, not just according to them, but others too, we leave behind a negative spiritual energy that lingers in the area. And if enough of this nasty stuff happens, the fighting and the killing, you'll have suddenly you've got an area like Land Between the Lakes, or spots in northwest Georgia, or spots in the Appalachian Mountains, or spots in the South Mountains where you just have all of this stuff.
Right.
I don't care anything about having any kind of an encounter with a S-walker.
No. You know what's funny is that when I was in that movie with Greg, and I was talking about a specific witch, right? That was the first thing I said. I'm going to say the name once in Cherokee, and that's it. Because most of the time, saying these things are an invocation and almost calling them to you. And so it's something that you don't want to do.
And I've been told, and my wife too, that after our initial visual encounter, I was wanting to see it more. And I was wanting that, and I was talking about it to my wife, or to my kids, or to my uncle, or whoever came here, or to my friends. And I was talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. They said, well, you just increased your chances of getting to have more encounters. And I don't think that's how I increased my chances. I think I increased my chances by being outside every night and tromping the woods. And you got to pay your dues and get out in the woods. But there could very well, maybe the intent of your heart, if you've got malice toward these creatures, you want to kill one. According to Robert W. Morgan, if y'all have never read his book, the Sasquatch, what's it called? I always forget the name of it. I've read it 50 times. It's a thin little book. Robert W. Morgan. He says it's all about what's in your spirit when you go out here. If you go out there and your intent is to kill a creature, you've got killing on your mind, you're either not going to have an encounter, or you're going to have an encounter so sudden that, like we said earlier, next thing you know, you're on missing 411.
Yeah.
I have a theory about Sasquatch sightings. I think they pick and choose who they let see them. I really do. I mean, I think they know who they want to see them and who they don't. It's just a feeling I get.
I'm in agreement with you. And a big part of it's my experiences, the experiences of witnesses. And in this book that had such an impact on me by Robert Morgan, the Sasquatch Hunter's Field Guide. You can get it on Amazon. He goes as far as to say, basically, go in the woods like you're not up to something. Don't be going into the woods dressed paramilitary like you're getting ready to go to war. If you want to increase your chances, is that to say that somebody that goes in fully decked out in the tactical gear, carrying a long rifle is no? People go out in groups like that all the time and have encounters, but I think it decreases your chances. But I think they can read your spirit just like we can read each other's spirits.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that, Jason. I'm 100% in agreement with you that, because if they don't want to be seen, they're not going to be seen.
No. I think they really do pick and choose who they let see them. And if you see one, you should feel special.
I think I said it earlier, but their domain, they live in these woods and they are masters at concealment, camouflage, and then throw in I think they can, however they do it, they can just suddenly just poof, disappear, or they've got either a supernatural ability, or there's something about their hair. There's been a lot of explanations. If they don't want you to see them, you're not going to.
Right.
Yep.
So how many witnesses who have come forward over the forever, they weren't out looking for Bigfoot. They were out fishing, or they were in their backyard checking their animals, or they were hiking.
Well, and how many people are just out camping, playing music, kids outside just running around screaming and playing, and then them cooking whatever, and then it just draws them in because they're like, what's going on over here?
The family that heard the gibberish. To my knowledge, that's the only time anybody camped in that area with kids, and they got there in that area and set up about noon, and those kids were playing in the creek and having a good time, and these happy sounds, I think that drew them in.
Yep. And I wonder how close our children sound to theirs when it comes to, because you could look at great apes and see how they play with each other and with their parents and stuff. And it's a lot like how little kids play, and it's almost like it's just this universal thing. And I wonder if that alone is what draws them to it. It's like, oh, what's going on over here?
Of course, some native tribes in other parts of the country would say, well, it's simple. They have a history of snatching kids and snatching women, but not here. We don't have that heavy. That's more out west, to my knowledge. Yep. It's a happy energy. Whether it's Bigfoot kids playing or human kids, if they're playing and having a good time, that's 100% happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But yeah, that is something that some Native American cultures talk about. Women and children don't need to be going into the woods alone because they will get snatched. You'll never see them again.
I am at the point, though, where I don't care if it's here or in Alaska or in Nicaragua, I don't ever recommend anybody going into the woods by themselves at night, especially in the Appalachian Mountains or foothills. Martin Groves scares me to death because that man is, he had a horrible encounter. But he goes out by himself, and the only thing he takes is a lantern. That's why I have a lantern hanging up back here, if you can see it. I said, man, you have got one more. Let me clean it up. You have got a big backbone on you, mister.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend anybody going to the woods by themselves.
I've heard him say a lot of times he don't take anything but a lantern, and he don't believe in taking cameras or anything. It's pretty interesting.
And it makes sense.
He has some good sightings.
He is the most, as far as people I personally met, Martin is the person that's had the most personal impact on me.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy too.
You couldn't get any nicer.
No, he loves everybody.
The day that I met him, me and Robert had left and went to the park office to get a topographic map. I'm a military guy. I got to have a topo map everywhere. So we're going to be operating. I'm having a map. We got back and I seen there was a white truck there and there was a crowd of people around it. And I thought, wonder what's going on here. I got over there and I looked. You ever been starstruck?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And it was Martin Groves. And I know I looked like some kind of a goofball. And I got closer. He said, get over here and give me a hug.
That throws you off, doesn't it?
But what an insightful man that Martin is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the things that he's witnessed and has happened to him and all that, it's really interesting.
Yes.
And he promised us, when we go out there that he will come out there and let us interview him.
Yeah. And if you can, also talk to Mike Smith. And him and Martin are very, very close. And Mike was also with us camping those nights. And those two dudes have logged some time in the LBL wilderness. And they're both very impressive. And Mike is just a tick under Martin just because Martin's older and had more experiences, but they're both very impressive. And if you can get them to get Mike to go with you or even spend some time with you while you're up there, you'll see what I'm talking about. Another great guy, nice dude, very knowledgeable.
Were both of them at the thing that Greg Ogles put on?
They were.
Yeah, I thought that was the guy that was with him there.
Yeah.
And the small, which a couple of the small town monster shows where they talked about the LPO, they interviewed Mike as well. And Mike is he logs a lot of time out there, not only in the woods but also on the water. So when we get up there, you be sure and get Martin to hook you up with Mike too.
Well, Jerry, have you got anything coming up? Any things you're doing?
I got something really cool coming up. I'm flying to San Diego to see my son who's in the Navy, and we have planned to do a cryptid investigation at a place in southeastern San Diego County called Proctor Valley. And gosh, NCI's got so much stuff on our calendar, a lot of stuff going on. We are blessed with opportunities now.
That's awesome.
We are really, really happy about it and blessed. And
yeah, I really like the cousin D-Ray. Man, that was so cool. We need to see more of that.
Maybe we can get old D-Ray out there and duct tape him to a tree and use him for squatch bait.
That was so cool, though. I just love it. Love it. I like the grill.
Now that we've got the be a guest on the show, our freaking calendar's getting full quick.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, anytime that you want to come back, just go to our website and fill that out.
Okay.
Anytime. I mean,
The great thing is as soon as you fill it out, you get to pick the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit submit, it goes straight to our email.
Okay.
And when we hit accept, it sends you an email back and everything. So
Yeah, I love hanging out with y'all.
thank you for
we love hanging out with you too. I mean, we've had a blast wherever we've been with you.
yes.
Yeah, if anything I can say about getting involved in all this was the people that I've met
Right.
along the way, and you guys are at the top. I really value getting to meet y'all and becoming friends with you.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
we're definitely going to come up there to South Mountain. Definitely. We just got to figure out a time.
Yeah, well, you guys figure out the time, let me know, and we'll work it out. And we don't have to do no deep woods hiking to go camp. We can load up my pickup truck, drive into the woods on one of those logging trails or wagon roads. And
Yeah.
I really like having the truck there now after this last incident.
I don't blame you.
Now, if something gets after you, you jump in the back of his truck and leave that dang gate open.
That's exactly right. That's what I said. I didn't know what to expect. I was just ready to get out of there.
Carolina Crime Files says they'll be calling you next week, Jerry.
Yeah, I talked to them earlier this week.
Cool.
Awesome.
Interesting.
I'm looking forward to that. Those guys are man, they have got a following on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they put out some good material with these witnesses they get to interview.
See, that's something that's nice to watch is when someone gets to see a good interview, you know.
Yeah.
I love it.
Next to being in the woods, my very favorite thing is preferably being face to face with somebody and have them tell me what they experienced. Sometimes that's not possible. It has to be over the phone, but I really enjoy and value hearing what people has gone through from their own mouth.
Yep. And you could see it written on their face, you know, when they're telling you the stories, because you could see them reliving it almost sometimes when they're telling you. That's something that I think Jason and I love a lot about going to a lot of these festivals and stuff like that is all these stories that you get to hear from all these people. They trust you with these stories, you know, and it's like, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I value the fact that some of the folks that's talked with me outside of their own family, they really never talked to anybody. And I just felt so honored.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had stories that people say, I've never told this to anybody. And they trust us enough to let it all out. And that gives them that feeling if they've got it off their chest, you know. But
I had another guy just a couple weeks ago come into my work, and he comes in pretty regularly because we buy a bunch of filters and stuff for our big trucks from him. But he told me a story about Cades Cove that happened, and it was pretty cool. And he's one of those people. He's an older guy. He's like, look, I don't want no one knowing. Not even very many people know that he's into Bigfoot and stuff. But he said that him and his daughter and his grandson was driving through Cades Cove, just trying to see bears and stuff like that. And I guess they took a gravel road that goes across a couple of little creeks, I guess. And I guess he says it dead ends, and there's an old cabin or something there. Well, when they were going around to where that old cabin was, they had the windows down, and out of the woods back behind the cabin, they heard like a little kid's voice yell out, you know, I want my mama. Help me. Help me. And it said it 5 times, not once, twice, 5 times. It said this. And they hurried up and got out of it because the place was busy. It was a weekend. And he's like, you know, if a kid would have been missing, there'd have been people all over the place trying to look for a kid. They never found anybody that was looking for a kid. And last week, him and I were talking about it, and he says that he's had a hard time sleeping because he's like, man, did I not help a kid just then? You know, did we just go off and just leave a kid? Now, he says that these woods there were so thick you couldn't even see into them at all. And I said, you ain't got nothing to worry about. I said, I haven't seen nothing on the news where some kids went missing or they had to find a kid. I said, that was something else. Trying to lure you into the woods.
Yep. Yeah, the type of thing that makes us take note of it. So we don't know exactly what's going on, but we know what you shouldn't do.
Yes.
You got your youngins out in the wilderness. You better keep them close.
Yep. Yes.
For one thing. And as far as that goes, if you talk to Politis, he's going to tell you, don't nobody wander off from your group.
Yep.
Whether you're a kid or an adult, etc.
Yeah.
People tend to maybe not give the respect that needs to be given to being out in these woods with these things that go on and these creatures and the other things that people experience. Mm-hmm. And there's bad things that happen to people.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, you know, people vanish without a trace. Gone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it ain't all the big fun and games with Harry and the Hendersons out in the woods. It has my utmost respect enough for I ain't going in these woods at night by myself. And there's spots I won't go ever by myself.
Mm-hmm.
To include that last area. I won't go down there by myself. It's just
right.
So it's my take on it. And if people, you know, your average person, they enjoy hearing about Bigfoots and the cryptids, and I'm not casting dispersions on them, but they don't understand that they're, you know, there's also bad things that happen and people disappear. I don't think these folks that watch the shows on their couch are going to necessarily run into the woods, but you never know. Don't do that. In other words, don't do that. If you don't hear nothing else, I was like, don't do that.
Hey, Jerry, did your light get bright by itself?
You know what? You mean my lighting here? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to it. I was kind of locked in on the screen. Is anything happening?
I've seen it do it about 3 or 4 times.
I hadn't paid any attention.
The light gets really bright.
I have not paid any attention to it.
You might have something going on there.
Well, we're here where the high strangeness occurs. So
yeah,
that includes ghost stories. I don't have a ghost story I've experienced, but I sure have collected several.
Yeah.
We find sage works really well. Just make sure you open windows and doors when you do it.
Right. Set off the fire alarm.
Yeah. Well, no, you got to give the spirit a place to go.
Oh, okay.
If you don't open a window or a door, you're going to make him mad. That's what you're going to do. You're going to bounce him around all over that house, and then you ain't going to give him an out. So.
Well, guys, I got to work in the morning about 5:30.
Oh,
so it's been fun, man.
I enjoyed it, and anytime I get the opportunity to hang out with y'all, I'm in.
Yeah, whenever you get that itch to talk about something, just go on that website and fill that out, and we'll definitely get you on here.
Okay.
And anybody that's in the chat room that would like to be on the show, just go to the website at paranormal411.org, fill out the be a guest page, and you can be a guest.
Yep.
Have you had any of the other NCI folks on your show? We got to get it's a heck of a team. All of us were brought together by experiences. None of us just decided to go out one night and start looking for boogers. So I would also say the Sasquatch Recon guys, but Bob and Dwight are just not big on doing podcasts.
There's one I watch a lot on YouTube. The older guy that tells the stories.
Robert Effler.
Yes, I think that's who it is. He's got some really good stories, and I like the way he tells them.
Yeah, Robert's a good one. Me and him talk on the phone every day or every other day, and he's old. He's a mountain man's mountain man.
Yeah. So if you want to give out your YouTube channel and whatever other links you might before we get out of here.
All right. It's Rebels Dark Tales of Appalachia on YouTube. You can plug in Rebels Dark Tales and it'll pop up. And then Facebook's just Jerry Millwood. And then TikTok is J.R.Millwood. And I'm really not on anything else outside of that. I'm on Instagram, but I couldn't. If you tortured me right now, you'd have to kill me because I don't remember Instagram. I don't know.
And he's always on NCI, North Carolina Investigates.
Twice a week, every Tuesday, every Thursday, 7 p.m. live. We got some really good guests lined up in the near future. Mike Smith from the LBL is going to be our guest. And
sounds good.
Early June. And we've got we're working on some other big guests too.
I hope you have, what's his name again? Cousin D Ray.
Oh, you want Cousin D Ray to make an appearance outside of his attempts to sabotage the NCI team?
Yeah, they need to have him on there to talk to him, see what's going on. Well,
maybe we can get D Ray and Robert to have Robert will be all for bringing D Ray on the show. So maybe we'll have D Ray on the NCI show as a test run.
Yeah. That's a really good thing you're doing there.
That's funny.
Well, it's fun. And we believe in having fun. We're not the NCI guys. And also Bob and Dwight and our Sasquatch Recon group.
Yeah.
We don't walk around like robots. Just the facts, ma'am. We're going to cut up and we're going to have fun.
That's the best way to
keep it light.
Yeah.
We might get on some heavy stuff sometimes, but we're going to always try to bring it around to getting people to smile.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it.
Yep.
But I appreciate y'all having me. It's an honor. And
we always enjoy having you come on and being part of the show. You have really good stories.
Some good
we'll do it again soon, and I look forward to you guys getting to come camp here.
Oh yeah.
I really want to go camping.
Yeah, we're going to figure out a date and then we'll let you know.
Okay, that'll be great. That'll be awesome.
Is there
Open
a
door
time
invite.
it's really going that that it's more than normal?
Say again. Oh, normal. The activity peaks the colder it gets.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't go away in the summer, but it drops significantly, and then long about November. December seems to be the month it peaks the most. December into January, and into February a little bit. March, you can see it winding down a little bit, and the way that I measure it basically is from what I hear going outside every single night. So, but cold weather is an old timer told me back in 2019, he said they come down here when it gets cold because it's a little bit cooler at this little bit lower elevation, and that's been spot on.
Makes sense.
So,
chasing the food too, so there'd be more berries, more things to still eat, lower elevation than higher elevations too. So
but anytime, I mean, you're prone, you're prone to camping out, being out there all night. Even during the summer, we've had things happen on campouts here and other spots as well. So whenever, or you can come in the summer and the fall and the winter.
Yeah.
it sounds like fun. Well,
Yeah. You gonna take us out, David?
yes. Remember, you can connect with us at paranormal411.org. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest updates. Join us live every Thursday from 7 to 8. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. I still haven't changed that, Jason. 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays from 8 to 10. Catch us on Subspace Radio and all major podcast platforms. Don't miss our books. We've got 3 of them. East Tennessee Hauntings and Lore, Edition 2. A comprehensive guide to paranormal investigations, and the Haunted Ledger. Now, they're all available on Amazon or directly through paranormal411.org. Join us. And we've also got a few things going on at the on the website too. So definitely go over there and check it out, because we've created an evidence analyzer. So you could go on and throw photos and audio and all kinds of stuff up, and it will help you find anomalies and all of that. So we have a sightings report. If you have sightings and stuff, you can go on there and report it, and it sends it straight to us. And of course, our be a guest. So.
And I've got the East Tennessee book right here behind me, and it's a really good book.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
that was fun. It was a fun book to put together.
Well,
all right, guys. We want to thank Jerry again for coming on, and be sure to go check his YouTube out, Rebels Dark Tales of Appalachia. And we'll see you Wednesday.
And the NCI channel, North Carolina Investigates
NCI, channel. North Carolina Investigates channel on YouTube. Ready?
Ready.
All right. Stay on, Jerry. We'll be right here.
All right.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? What secrets the night hides? What strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception? Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.